Well, it's great to be back in the game week here. I know we utilize the bye week well. There's a piece to it that's healing up. There's a piece to going out recruiting, and then in between you continue to try to build depth, sharpen skills, all those type of things with some young guys, some backups probably in particular. So good to have the bye week behind us at the same time and on to another game week here. I think looking back at our Portland State game, I think we felt that was going to be a challenge, and it was in its own right. And I think we were forced into having to play a really good second half to pull away from them. And I think Portland State's got a good team, and that was the result. But it did test us that day. And I think our guys responded in that second half. So moving forward out of the bye, we have Cal Poly. Cal Poly's a team that has suffered 3 conference losses now, but you can see them as a program that's continuing to build from the ground up. Coach Wolf taking over from Coach Baldwin is part of that. Coach Wolf was on the staff. They had a pretty extreme turnover as far as just scheme, philosophy, all those things when Coach Baldwin took the job, and that takes time. And what you see is a group that keeps playing, and they've had a tough stretch of opponents at the same time. So we're looking forward to this game on Saturday. Looking forward to being in front of our fans again. Continuing to move along as far as what can we do each week to make ourselves a better team, and this would be a great opportunity to do that. So that'll open up.
Is there, maybe financial is the wrong word, is there any benefit to having a bye week in kind of the midpoint of the season as opposed to later on?
Yeah, we've been week 9 the last 2 years. Being week 6, I think you could justify it either way. I think where we're at this year, it suited us better. Week 6, when you're going through a week where you don't play and you're wanting guys to return, to have one of those weeks be a week where you don't have a game, I think is a good thing. And I think on the recruiting side, having it be early October as opposed to late October, early November, I think it was more advantageous for us to have that week this week on that side as well. So you make the best of it. You don't really determine when your bye week's going to be, but I think for us this was well timed.
Just looking back at the first 5 games, I guess how would you evaluate your team's efforts?
Well, I think we're better than we were in August. That's guys continuing to prove themselves. Position groups within our team continuing to gain traction to show improvement. And I think our depth hasn't been extremely tested at this point, but I do think when it has been tested, we've responded. I look offensively. I think we still got plenty of things to work through, but our whole line's playing really well. I think we've established a running game. I think in the passing game, we've gotten some elements back, and we'll continue to as the season goes on. So I think we've made some strides there. Defensively, we've talked a lot about our secondary. That was the unproven area, and I think that group has really come on. And I think our front sevens played really well. Special teams wise, we haven't had the return game show up a whole lot, but either as the other team, we've covered quite well. I think through 5 games, I think Brennan's shown where he can be, a real weapon. He's kicked off particularly well. He hasn't punt a whole lot. And, outside of that Weber game, he has placed kick very well. So, I think we've made good progress. Whatever our expectations were, it doesn't really matter. I think you look at the progress we've made, and then you lay out kind of what we need to continue to do moving forward.
Tommy, being back on the depth chart, can you just speak to kind of like healing up over the bye week and all the injuries?
Slated him as or. I think he's going to be available. What and how that looks like, I think will be a continued work in progress for this week. He has made considerable progress just moving around, but getting to go ahead and move around and the conditioning aspect, I think that's something. There's something to say for that because Tommy Milano is a highly tuned athlete when he's healthy, and getting him kind of back to that place, as when you're immobile for a couple of weeks, that's the progress I guess we're continuing to make, but definitely available at this point.
I may have missed this, but I saw Scott Trey was on a scooter with the boot. Any update on his injury over the last month?
Yeah, Scott Trey was non-surgical. We've had you think about Lane Sumner, those injuries aren't too far apart. Lane has surgery. Scott Trey doesn't have to. So he won't be available this week. I didn't list him. I think there's potential in the weeks to come. Jacob Trimble would fall in that same boat. Similar type of injury, no surgery. Availability in the next couple of weeks. We're hoping for that.
Sorry, you mentioned Lane there. I guess what's his timetable as far as return?
Yeah, I think these next couple of weeks will be when he turns the corner. And there's steps. Turning the corner is being able to first run and then start changing direction. Getting the go ahead for that. So I don't, as far as a particular game right now, I don't know what that looks like. But I think through the next couple of weeks, he'll be taking some really good steps, and I'm hopeful. We turn the page in November that he could be available then.
Right, and then seeing Taco catching passes. I guess what's his situation?
Yeah, Taco's he's moved along quite well. In particular, I think the last month, he went through a stretch where it's pretty slow as far as your progress with a shoulder surgery like that. But I think as of late, I think it's really started to turn the corner. So availability will be there. And it's right around the corner. But we're really trying to ramp him up as far as just the conditioning side of things more than anything.
Looking at Cal Paul, brought in Sandy, you were at quarterback. What have you seen from him so far this season?
Well, he hasn't played the last couple games. I know he's got a really good arm and can be prolific on the passing side. I know they played Kelly the last couple games in his absence. Kelly's got more mobility, so if Heward's available this week, and they'll have a decision to make. Two different quarterbacks. I think they both have, they have about the same number of attempts right now in the passing side, and I think Kelly, like I said, gives a little bit more mobility, all those things. I would suspect they would go back to Heward if he's available, but yeah, I think he was adapting. Then goes out that second quarter of the Portland State game, and he hasn't played since. Adapting. This is the first time he's played really. He didn't play a lot in Washington, but was highly touted, obviously. Comes from a long line of quarterbacks, in his family, so there's definitely ability there, in a competitive nature. Absolutely.
And it's just kind of big picture what you see from their offense.
Well, I like to throw it obviously a bunch more than they will run it. They do have, I think, very capable receivers, big targets, a variety of them at the same time. So they've spread it around. Last year they were a little bit more skewed towards Coleman. He was one of the better receivers in the league. So right now their receptions are a little much more spread out. But what you do, you got to do is you got to get them in certain passing situations, even though they pass as much as they do. And when that time's there, we got to rush the passer. And if we can hold the running game to very little, you do that. You make it completely one-dimensional, and that's what we aim to do. But they are more than capable of putting up yards and production in passing game.
And then defensively, I know Ponder, 14, one of the top guys.
Yeah.
What have you seen from that side of the
No,
ball?
he jumps out at you right away. Really good length, athleticism, 5 sacks at this point. You can see they're coming on as far as personnel goes on defense. I think they cover well at the corner position. Their linebackers are very active. They mix up their fronts. Kind of based on what you do. I would imagine we'll see a lot of guys down there like we typically do. But no, they have some guys that are starting to make I think some real progress. And even reading through Coach Wolf's comments out of these last couple of games, I would say their mindsets continuing to evolve in a positive manner. And credit to him for that. I think it's when you turn over like they have, and as far as scheme and roster and type of players and all that, that is a long process. And I know Coach Baldwin got it started, and Coach Wolf is taking it on. I think because he believes that Cal Poly's a place that he can have similar success that he's had in his career before.
Anything else in the room?
I guess just one more for me. Blake Schmidt, he had that early TFL last week. I guess what have you seen from him through these first 5 games?
Yeah, real consistent play. I know we felt like Blake had a good year last year. We felt like he could be more impactful, and he's done that. He's, in those type of plays, getting into the backfield, wreaking havoc. I think that's what those interior positions need to be about. So he's maybe not just accumulating all kinds of stats, but he's really impacting the game, and that's been there all year out of Blake, and I think Sebastian the same. So and I think getting Paul brought back in there has helped, because Paul has, I think, very similar ability to Blake Schmidt at those guard positions. So then Blake Hale, I think credit to Blake. Blake Hale's hung in there through a lot his first 2 years with us, and now I think reaping the benefits of just patience and being a little healthier this go around. So we're getting there with that interior grouping, but Sebastian and Blake Schmidt certainly are leading up.
I'm just curious, with the tough latter half of your schedule, can you just talk about, you've talked about the human nature of it before it all. How are you staying Cal Poly this week with so many important games?
Well, I mean, that's all you look at. I know with the bye week, I think it even dials in a little bit more. You just want to get back out and play. I think that's what the bye week kind of does to you. It's great to have the bye week, but by the middle of it, you just want to get back out and play whoever's coming your way, and it happens to be Cal Poly. And I think our guys, recognize that this team has ability. They maybe hasn't quite clicked, but they have ability. And I think looking at our last game, kind of the same conversation. Portland State had beat Cal Poly, but they also lost a couple games, so you can't get caught up in the scores and all that kind of stuff. You certainly can't get caught looking ahead weeks down the road. I know that much.
Victor, do you have anything?
Yeah, hey Brent, just a couple questions about Sam Biggs, the story at hand. I guess just first off, how do you feel like he has performed as a coach? What have you liked about him so far? What have your been impressions of him so far as the running backs coach?
Yeah, really moved in well to that position. I felt like when hiring him, we had a guy that had been in the program a couple years, had certainly seen how we want to do things as far as just with our players on the field, and then on the recruiting side, knew that that he had a real good way with young kids, as far as the young high school kids, and getting to know them and really working hard, and then being from the Seattle area, was excited about that tie-in really being his first time as a full-time recruiter. So been really pleased with his efforts on the field with that group, communicating with them. I know anytime you're coaching a position like running back and one guy is out there at a time, the biggest thing is that you're teaching them, obviously, but you're communicating where they're at, what they need to do better, but then what their expectations could be. So managing that group so far has been, I've been really pleased. Like I said, on the recruiting side, I think what I expected has proven. We'll sign a group of guys down the road here in December, but I think we've really done a good job in that Seattle footprint with Sam taking the lead there.
Yeah, was he one of the Scott Ray recruiters? One of the main guys there?
Brian Armstrong had that area. I think Sam was an off the field, so a kid from Seattle comes in and spends time here on campus. That's when Sam would have an opportunity to be around him. So I think in that regard, he certainly did. I know with Junior Alexander, kind of same thing. Certainly different story as far as his recruiting, but Sam certainly helped in that manner, and I think it'll continue to be an area that's good for us.
Last one for me is just his experience as a receiver and mainly as a receiver's coach. How do you think that's kind of affected how he's coached, and maybe some of those pluses with being from that position coming in running backs?
Yeah, I think the element that you bring with that starting skill set, I guess, is just, I think would be obvious would be on the route side, the passing side. But I always believe you can coach, you can move around position wise, and I do think he had a real confidence in moving to that running back position, even though there's several things that we asked those two positions that are very different. So I think it helped in some regard, but I had a good feeling that that he could take over that room and continue to move it forward. And I feel like he's done that.
Thanks, Brent.
Coulter, do you have anything?
Yeah, Coach, a couple from me. We talked about the under center stuff you guys have been doing from a schematic point of view, but just from like pure fundamental point of view, have there been any challenges there, or does Justice Perkins know how to do that, John Davis?
Well, we're not, like we go through spring ball and fall camp. We're not exclusively in the gunner and pistol. We work under center at times, but certainly the volume grew. And so to your question, I think Justice perfectly fine with it. In some sense, I think snapping the ball to a guy under center takes a load off. It is a more natural skill for those guys. Just firing the ball and all that. And then, Sean had quite a wealth of experience from his time at Wyoming. And, we've tried to build up Tommy's under center over time too. He was primarily, almost exclusively a gun guy at U High and really had been that so far in his career. So, we don't want to just be limited to, Sean's the only guy that will be under center. But I do think, sometimes there's a real advantage to the running back, the way he gets the ball. His vision can be a little bit different. I think certainly the way the defense, the second level defenders in particular, view it and what they see. I think we can do a lot of the same things, not asking our linemen to do anything different, but then we can give the defenders quite a bit different look. So yeah, we'll continue to mix it in, but not this crazy departure. It wasn't like a couple weeks ago we said, you know what, we're going to completely shift gears here. It's been part of our fundamental base.
Was there a moment that you realized exactly what you said, all the different advantages that come from being variable in that moment?
Well, I think we get to be in a little bit more of that outside zone combined with the naked, the getting out of pocket play action game. I think any coach would say that that's a harder piece to defend. And then I think in particular when we looked at that Weber game plan, the things we did against them last year to get out on the edge, how can we in some ways replicate it but make it look completely different to them? And I think that was probably that transformational stage. And I know we joked a little bit about it with the 49ers, but I mean, as a coach, you pay attention. Whether it's the 49ers, the Dolphins, probably in particular. I watch the Bills. They're under center a bunch more now. So, I think it makes you just think about things, rethink some things. And wanting to build more of a down the field play action game. You want to be able to draw the defense up. I mean, the second, that second and third level defender. So I think it all goes together. I don't know if there was any particular aha moment, but it's something off-season wise we had talked about it. It's just, this was the time. The Weaver game was the kind of time and place to implement.
Interesting thinking back to the Cal Poly game last year. Just going to that game, you guys were so banged up. And it didn't matter. You still went out and scored 70 points. So what do you remember about that? What do you remember about guys just kind of stepping up and being so good?
Yeah, we come off that Northern Arizona win, which we squeaked out, and it took everything. And yeah, we were a little banged up going out there. That was game 10 for us last year. No different than game 6. You're still just trying to say, what can we do to keep getting better? At that point in time, we would have been sitting on 8 wins, right? 8 wins, I guess. Yeah, 8 wins. So, I think we felt like the playoffs were in front of us. We're a ways away from that right now. But that game, everything kind of came together. I think we had 50-some points in the first half. I know big plays galore. Marquis obviously had the big game that day. He ran the wild. So, to your point, I think our guys just responded well to that trip, to playing at night, and coming off a really emotional victory the week before.
And Markey was the number 1 on the depth chart this week. Is there anything to that? I know you're so successful against Cal Poly.
Well, we want to keep getting him involved, and unfortunately, we've seen some good kickers, so he hasn't got a lot of opportunity on the kick return side. So, hopefully that there's some opportunities there. But offensively, I think here and there, small doses we've gotten the ball. I know we want to, keep expanding that. Him moving up to that one spot is really reflective of Trimble being out this week as much as anything. But he's always hanging there, whether it's he's listed number one or not. He's obviously a weapon that we would like to utilize, and at the same time, he's not necessarily running back. He's not necessarily a receiver. He is a returner, but then on offense, what is he? I think he's just a guy that's got to get some touches, and that hasn't happened a lot to this point. But I think as we move into the second half, we got to continue to up that total.
You mentioned the two quarterbacks with Hubert being out the last couple of weeks and Bo Kelly. To me, when I watch it, they look a lot different. You have to prepare for sort of different types of offenses this week. I
think so, yeah. I know we've talked about that before, opening games sometimes, but here you sit in the middle of the year with anticipation that the previous guy will be back while the guy that's replaced him has had some relative success and is quite a bit different. I think the mobility piece between the two is certainly one thing. With Kelly, they probably try to do some things that highlight that piece, and with Heward, they're gonna have some more capability to throw it down the field, I guess. So yeah, we got to be ready for both, and I think it still comes back to, okay, what do they do in the run game? That's primarily been running back oriented. So what do we do to stop that? And then on the passing side, how do because it's about even with their attempts, how do they differ and what does that look like? So having a few extra days of practice to expand what you work on is certainly to our advantage given this scenario.
I also want to ask about Sebastian. We've written about him a lot, but now that he's a junior, it seems like he's come a long ways just in terms of the leadership part of it as well. So how have you seen him grow, and I mean, how important is that? It seems like he is sort of the key cog in the middle of a team.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily say a whole lot, but is a leader, and he's a leader with how he is, continued to chase after what is a really high ceiling. I think it was easy to see when he played in 21 that here's a guy that could really be special, and that doesn't always mean a guy's going to become special. And I think he's continued to take the steps in the off season to chase that mark, and then I think with his consistency to this point is apparent on all these Saturdays. He's been really dialed in because I think he knows that we have high expectations of him. I know he knows that, and he's got a high standard that he set for himself, and I think that piece, as much as anything, is such a fine example for the rest of the guys in that room. Just the work ethic, and then when Sebastian says something, it's coming from a place that he means what he says. I think that those type of leaders are very important to have on your team. So no, we need a big second half of the season from him. There's no doubt about it. But I know we've already talked about Blake Schmidt a little bit. But those two get in the backfield can light a fire as quickly as anything else on our defense.
Sebastian's so physically impressive. How do you go about him translating that on the football field? Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. He's doing it.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a continued battle with technique. You can't just go out there and see ball, get ball from a 3 technique, a defensive tackle position. You have to really be a technician, and I think that's been something. Here's this really good to great interior player, but our coaches are coaching him like he's a freshman as far as the technique goes. Both Coach John Baptiste and Coach Howe. I think that's that constant message for that whole group. They're coaching Sebastian, Brody, and Blake is every bit as hard as those guys that are in that next wave as far as just what the technique is, and then what it means to their level of success, and what it means, for them to be in the right gap. And that might not be on this particular play that I'm going to make a play, but someone else is. So a lot of credit to the two position coaches in that room, D linemen, for just constantly harping on those guys what the expectation is, what it's supposed to look like, and not letting them just go out there and play ball. I think that's a tendency for really talented players, just to go out and play ball and try to make plays for himself, and that's not what this defensive line is doing right now.
Also seems like he's been an all-league player already, he still has a lot of room to grow, so that's probably pretty great thought for you as a year, thought for the rest of the year.
Yeah, like I said, it was clear to me a couple years ago, probably in that first spring, that that's the type of guy we need at that position. That position in our defense is as important as any other. That guy being able to do things one-on-one at times, but then be able to just probably attract as much attention as they attract. Then our defense is doing the things that we needed to. So, I really credit him for seeing that vision along with us coaches, continuing to get better, continuing to get bigger and stronger and more impressive physically, and then continue just to dial in, on everything that he needs to do to become the very best he can before he walks out of here. And I think we're on the right track.
Last one for me. What have you thought was the collective focus of the group so far? It seems what I'm talking about very good.
Yeah, I think so. I think they know what they want, and at the same time, we're living in the moment. I think there's such a key component there. You get too far ahead of yourself with anything, you're going to get it sidetracked. Our guys have really been able to live in the moment. We obviously talk about it a lot, but more just them demonstrating that on a daily basis. And, being able to go out there on a Tuesday last week, the bye week, and really practice hard, and then follow it up with a Wednesday. And, I think that's a sign you're looking for. Whether it's, they understand every day matters, every rep matters in practice. And I think we got a big enough group of experienced guys that have been through quite a bit that, they see a younger guy that maybe isn't quite following suit. We have this a lot, but they're not afraid to make sure that's straightened out. So it's not just the coaches preaching that. So, I think our group of leaders, they're living, in the moment. They're demonstrating the way it's supposed to be done, and have continued that all through the calendar year. Really, I think that's the biggest thing. This didn't just start when we got the football season. This goes back to this existence. I guess goes back to January.
Anything else on Zoom? Anything in the room? All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.